Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Right, okay, so we've got for you a new edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game, specifically the 26th edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. Because last week, the 25th edition ended with It's Your Boy SB being crowned our winner. And so we're onto a new game, and that means a whole load of new entrants. And this is actually the biggest one yet in terms of the number of entrants. So I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone for taking part. And there's also a few new faces in here as well, which is always great to see. It's always great to have some new blood for the wheel to get its teeth into. So I'll just go through those names with you very quickly. Obviously, for anyone unfamiliar, we always go through in alphabetical order because any other order wouldn't really make any sense. We start with A, laugh my ass off, and Nazy, or A as I'm going to call him from here on in because I've no idea how you're meant to pronounce that username. Uh, Bellatrix, Boom Shakalaka, Calfoth, Canhaga Captain Quebec, C. Collins 44, Cheeseball, Common, who is one of our debutants this time around. So thanks for playing and good luck in your first ever Tapology Lucky Bastard game. Cool Hand Puke, Costradamus, Damien Handel 420, Dr. Maxis 2, El Guapo, who's also our unofficial commentator for the fight. So I just want to give a shout out to him for his contributions. So he always does some brilliant commentary throughout the fight night on the thread. Massive thanks to his contribution. Uh, Phil Mand MMA. I hope I'm pronouncing that how you intend it to be pronounced. It's another of our debutants today. So thanks for playing again, and best of luck to you too in your first ever game. Foghorn Sam, our reigning, defending Tapology Lucky Bastard game champion. It's your boy SB is back again. Can he defend his title? Jack Soto, KK Kombu, Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake, Mule Floyd, Piggy Bank. Was frozen here, but yep, okay, we're just gonna bear with me a second. Frozen, there we go. Piggy Bank, Rigno, Shat, Schwer Industry, Sigu, Siyun Six, myself, Stephen Terry, Tyson Magamanov, the Dirty UFC Man, the MMA Historian, Trail Allman, Trig, Troz. Troz also makes some great charts as well, showing who's been matched up with who. So I just want to thank him again for his contributions to the game. It all helps create a wonderful atmosphere within the game. That's the best thing that's come off of this game is just seeing the atmosphere and the pure camaraderie and shithousery going on between the users, and it's wonderful to see that. So thanks to all for your contributions. Uber Match and Ex-Con Chris. So yeah, there's 37 of you to get through. So this, for anyone familiar with my usual style of video making, this is going to be a very long one, and I can only apologise. But having said that, let's just have a brief look at the event we've got serving as our first one, rather fittingly, a massive pay-per-view. UFC 311. Islam Makachev versus Renato Moicano now. Was meant to be Arman Tarsukian, but he's pulled out due to injury. At the last minute, Renato Moicano has stepped in, which I'm going to be completely honest, massive, massive balls to him for doing this because, yeah, there's not many people that would fight Makachev on like 1 day's notice. But yeah, massive respect to him for taking the challenge. But the truth is, I just don't think he has a chance at all. I've picked Islam Makachev by first round knockout because he's basically beaten all of the best. Plus, obviously, what could arguably consider the featherweight greatest of all time, Alexander Volkanovski, twice. One of those times, Volkanovski also came up from on short notice. Um, But yeah, as for Moicano, he's had some very impressive wins in his career, particularly in submission department. With 9 sub wins, but I just don't think that's going to be enough against Islam Makhachev because he's just completely different level of grappling. So yeah, this isn't going to last long. But as I say, massive respect to Moicano for taking this fight at short notice and frankly keeping one of the biggest stars in the sport on the card. But I'm rooting for Moicano. Don't get me wrong. I'm just being realistic here. I just can't see any way he wins. Uh, but anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with the first round draw. Because this is going to take a little while, 37 of you to get through, plus a little bit of me rambling. It's going to take a little while, but let's not waste any more time. So first up to face the wheel is A, or A like my ass off an AZ, however you want to pronounce it. And he gets Diego Ferreira. Diego Ferreira for A there. I think I spelled that right. And to be completely honest, I've taken Grant Dawson in this one, so I'm expecting Grant Dawson to win by knockout in the first round. Simply because just to focus back on Ferreira for a second, he's a UFC veteran. He's 15 fights in the promotion, 10 wins, 5 losses, so very respectable UFC career. But he is now 40 years old, which is in combat sports is never really a good thing. Unless it's boxing and your name's Bernard Hopkins, but otherwise, no, it's not a good thing. But it again does have quite a few KO losses on his record in the past. Grant Dawson's very well-rounded UFC fighter. You can easily find a KO, and that's what I'm banking on, an early KO really for Grant Dawson. One thing Ferreira does have going in his favour, though, is on a 2-fight KO win streak of his own, so a little bit of a resurgence. But I think in a way it's yeah, kind of backhanded compliment really, as getting drawn against Grant Dawson as your reward for going on a winning streak. Not ideal really, but I think A is going to do well to survive the first round. To be honest. Okay, next is Bellatrix. Let's see who the wheels got in store for Bellatrix. And Bellatrix gets Ricky Turquoise. Ricky Turquoise there for Bellatrix. And yeah, I've picked Ricky Turquoise to win by decision here. Particularly, yeah, as he's 2-2 in the UFC, which is a little bit of a rocky start to his UFC tenure, to be honest. But when you compare that to his opponent, Bernardo Sapage, this is only his second UFC fight. His first one ended in a spectacular loss with a flying knee against Vinicius Oliveira. Which is never a great way to start your run in the UFC, but I suppose the only way's up from here, isn't it? But yeah, I think he's got his work cut out against Ricky Turquoise, to be honest. Ricky Turquoise, of course, his last fight was actually against Raul Rosas Jr., who's one of the rising prospects in MMA, but he did get beaten by submission that time. But again, I don't recall him looking terrible in that fight, so that's definitely a plus in my book. I've always preferred to see fighters fighting the best, regardless of performance. So fair play to him for that. But overall, I just think he's just a slightly higher level at the moment. Yeah. Anyway, Bellatrix, I reckon, should get through. That's my prediction. Boom Shakalaka up next. Always a joy to say that username. I love that one. Boom Shakalaka. And he gets Raoni Barcelos. Raoni Ra Fuck me, I can't even spell right. Barcelos. There we go. Raoni Barcelos there for Boom Shakalaka. Where am I here? Oh, there it is. And this one, I've picked his opponent's Peyton Talbot to win by decision. Talbot, of course, very encouraging prospects, 9-0. Still haven't really seen him get tested, but he should win this one. If anything, the odds, particularly what I've got jotted down here, is saying that he was the minus 1,150 favourite, which is, I think, in normal fraction terms, or at least normal from where I am anyway. Normal fraction terms, that's like 1 to 11. So if you like put £11 on, you get £1 back or something stupid like that. It's which obviously, if you flip the equation around, that makes Raoni Barcelos, I think, in terms of the odds, our biggest underdog on the card. So there's he's plus 710. So yeah, that's which is like 7-1, which yeah. That's just not. The wheel always seems to have out for Boom Shakalaka for some reason. I suppose the only good thing I can think about for Barcelos is that of his recent losses, he does always go the distance most of the time. It's only Umar Nurmagomedov that's finished him recently in terms of his recent losses. But yeah, I can't really sugarcoat this much, I'm afraid. Yeah, I think it's. I don't think he'll get finished. Actually, I have got Peyton Talbot by decision, by the way, because I think Barcelos is quite a tough fighter and certainly more experienced of the two. 18 wins, 5 losses compared to Talbot's 9-0. But I think it is going to be an extremely one-sided, unanimous decision for Talbot. So yeah, I think nothing short of a miracle is going to see Boom Shakalaka in the next round, I'm afraid. Moving swiftly on to Kalfoth. Let's just forget that last entry ever happened. On to Kalfoth. Let's see. He gets a more reasonable chance in Hiri Proshaka. I have no idea how you actually pronounce that name, to be honest. So apologies if I have mispronounced that. I know damn well I've not spelt it right either. But so, I mean, you know how stacked this card is, by the way, when Hiri Prochaka, he's the bloody third one down. He's not even the co-main event here. He's actually the third one on the card, along with Yamal Hill, obviously headliner of UFC 300. So yeah, this is an absolutely stacked card. And for this one, I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit on this, but overall, I have decided to side with Prochaka for this one. My second round knockout, because I can't see this fight going the distance. I think one of them's going to knock the other out. And Prochaka, in my opinion, just has the better wins and has the. He's certainly got more experience. 30 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, and Jamal Hill's 12 wins, 2 losses. In a way, I kind of feel like people are sort of writing off Prochaka's chances a little bit here because simply because of his 2, which were admittedly pretty brutal defeats to Alex Pereira, but Alex Pereira is going to be seen as one of our generation's best, so no shame in losing to him at all. And I think because of that, people, as I say, are writing off his chances. And when he does still have great wins over Rakic, Texiera, Reyes, and of course, before coming to the UFC, he was a champion in Ryzen. So, and which, by the way, if you don't watch Ryzen, you're missing out. Just saying, because there was some seriously good talent over there. If anything, I'd say it's probably now the true rival to the UFC. But anyway, as for this one, as for this pick, anyway, get back on track a bit. I think Calfos got quite a good chance there. It's still a bit of a 50-50 one, and it's one of those fights that one punch from either of them can change anything. But I'd be happy with that, considering some of the alternatives you can get drawn with on the card. That's for sure. Um, Canhego Ruiz is next to face the wheel. Let's see who Canhego Ruiz gets drawn with for tomorrow night's action. And he gets one of the co-main eventers, Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar Nurmagomedov there for Canhego Ruiz. Nurmagomedov. Again, I've probably not spelt that right either. Probably not pronounced it right. Now, he's the favourite for the bookies, minus 280. And of course, he looks great. His performances so far have been fantastic. He's looked very dominant in his wins. It's Merab Divalishvili, for instance. I think even though he tends to go the distance more often, he's kind of wrestles his way to a win, to a decision win most of the time. His wins are better than Nurmagomedov's, and to be completely honest, because Nurmagomedov's most high-profile win is Corey Sandhagen, who is he's a good fighter. I'm not taking that away from him or Nurmagomedov. That is a great win, but that is the only one. Whereas Divalishvili, he's wrestled his way to a victory over obviously the former champ Sean O'Malley, who took the belt off, Henry Cejudo, Petr Yan, Jose Aldo. He's honestly he's got the better record in my opinion. He's basically, besides Sterling, who obviously teammates with, and best mates and all that. He was never going to fight him anyway. He's basically beaten everyone right at the top of the bantamweight division. Nurmagomedov's the only one so far he hasn't, and I can see him doing that. I can see him getting a decision win against Nurmagomedov. So yeah, that's my prediction. Goes against the grain a little bit, but I can. So yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. So obviously, Canhego Ruiz is going to hope that I'm wrong and that the bookies are right. But truth be told, even though you've got the favourite, I would much rather have his opponent. I'd much rather have the defending champion in my corner for tomorrow night, or be in the defending champion's corner, obviously. Right, Captain Quebec. I've just noticed there's a lot of people's usernames beginning with C for some reason. Interesting. Anyway, Captain Quebec, next to face the wheel. And he's through to the next round. Congratulations, you're through to the next round because you got Peyton Talbot. Yeah, who's the biggest favorite on the card. That's minus one. Was it 1,150? Something stupid like that. It's ridiculous. Right, no value in that, is there? You probably remortgage your house on that one and still sleep soundly. Anyway, so yeah, as I said, Peyton Talbot is very impressive looking prospects, and if he carries on at this rate, he's also in the bantamweight division. It's not going to be too long until we might be talking about him potentially in a few years' time in the bantamweight title picture. Obviously, first he's got to get past. He's got to get past Raoni Barcelos, but yeah, I think he will. Barcelos will give him a good fight, to be fair, and I think he will force him the distance and maybe force Talbot to adopt a slightly more cautious game plan than what he normally does and what he normally tries to impose on his opponents. But yeah, there's not really a lot I can add to that, to be honest. It's just debating about how hard the win for him is going to be rather than whether or not he will win. So I think Captain Quebec, you can just sit back and relax, crack a beer or two open. Actually, these things go on forever. 2 beers isn't going to last you a whole UFC card, is it? But no, just sit back and relax because you're pretty much already through, unless one of the biggest upsets in MMA history, definitely recent MMA history, occurs. In which case, just sit back and enjoy that. Right, C. Collins, 44, up next. Let's see who he's going to be drawn with for the first round. He gets Billy Elikana. Billy Elikana for C. Collins, 44. Right, and oh fuck me. All right, Billy Elikana. So again, I'll just start off with the bad news in terms of my picks. I've gone with his opponent Bogdan Guskov by first round knockout. Guskov was he's just so much more experienced than him for a start. 16 wins, 3 losses. Billy Elikana, 7 wins, 1 loss. He's a good prospect, but I think this is just too much of a step up for him. Obviously, he made his UFC debut. Before that, has fought in the PFL and the LFA. Particularly PFL ended up getting quite a few decisions, as I recall. So we've seen what he's like when he sort of steps up to the slightly more elite level at the PFL. And sort of grind his way to some very close decisions. But I think this one is just too much of a step up, especially against someone with the power that Bogdan Guskov has to end a fight at any moment, especially early in a fight when he's got all of his strength still and he hasn't been gassed out a bit. Obviously, we've seen him knock out Ryan Spann and Zach Pauga recently. I just don't think this is a good matchup at all, really. He's being thrown into the deep end here. Very unfortunate, in my opinion. Because on one hand, a new fighter in the UFC, you're going to want to start climbing the rankings as soon as possible. But on the other hand, you don't want to be getting sparks out on just your second fight in the promotion. That's just this is just too much of a step up, in my opinion. So I'm not overly confident on C. Collins 44's chances getting through to the next round, unfortunately. Right, let's see if the wheel's a little bit kinder to Cheeseball. Let's see who the wheel's got in store for Cheeseball. And he also is with Hiri Prochaka. And this will be a theme because of people being doubled up on fighters. In fact, it's actually impossible to avoid it because we actually have more entrants than we have fighters. 13 fights on the card, so 26 fighters, and there's 37 of you. So obviously, double ups are inevitable. Oftentimes, we actually end up with like 4, 5, sometimes even 6 on one occasion. People lumped on the same fighter, or maybe 3 or 4 people on either side of a fight, which always gets interesting. So I'm not going to be getting out a little chalkboard and joining all the dots, seeing who's fighting who right now in my mind, because that will make this video just go on forever. Anyway, not really much I can say once we do start repeating them, because Hiri Prochaka, I reckon he's going to do it. It's going to be a close fight. It could go either way, but I reckon he's going to do it simply because of his experience. I think he's going to be a little bit more patient with his shots. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he actually kind of lets Hill kind of wear himself out for the first round or so, and then starts to take over once Hill starts to gas. I mean, that's part of his mistake against Pereira. Was I know he's gone on social media about moaning about the loss. I'm not going to get into all of that. I can't imagine how I'd react to a big loss like that. But the one thing that does bother me about that, though, what he's been saying about the awkward restart and the ref interfering. You threw the first shot after the restart, Hill. You threw the first shot since they restarted, so you can't say you weren't ready. And quite simply, all Pereira did was just counter that. So it's because you kind of rushed into his shots and has got countered, and I can see a similar thing happening to Prochaka, him against Prochaka, rather, I'd say. Wouldn't be. I think if Prochaska's going to knock him out, it's going to be with a counter shot, I'd reckon, simply because Hill does have a tendency to rush into shots, which for fighters that are easily pressured, that works fantastically. For fighters that aren't, like Pereira and Prochaka, not so much. So anyway, that's I think that's quite a good pick anyway. So I reckon we'll see Cheeseball in the second round. Okay, so we're up to our first of two debutants in here. Common, who's welcome to the Lucky Bastard game. It's nice to meet you, obviously, earlier in the forums. And obviously, you said that you will destroy the wheel if it doesn't give you what you want, doesn't give you, well, not a guaranteed loser anyway. So basically, which now I kind of want you to get a guaranteed loser because I'd love to see you destroy the wheel. Somebody needs to. The thing's going out of control. So let's see. Let's see if the wheel is feeling that threat. Don't say I didn't warn you, wheel. You give him a bad fighter, Common's going to be after you, and you don't want to make Common angry. So let's see who's your first ever fighter going to be. And he also gets Hiri Prochaka. So even if, and well, there we go. The wheel hasn't given you a guaranteed loser. You can't complain about being given a guaranteed loser because even if you are one of the ones that thinks Yamal Hill's going to win this, which is fair enough, he definitely can. It's certainly not guaranteed. And as I say, it's their power of both of them kind of makes it more of a 50-50 fight, but I would say that Prochaka's should be the favourite going into this one. So whether you think Prochaka should be the favourite or not, that's a matter of debate. That's a matter of opinion. We'll have all our answers found out tomorrow, won't we? But all in all, that's quite a good pick, and you could definitely have done worse in any case, even if you think he isn't gonna come out with the win. Right. So we got Cool Hand Puke up next. Hang on. What's happened here? Just there we go. Got it back now. All right. I just want to check. I'm actually sharing onto the internet, aren't I? Yes. Yeah, that's good. I wasn't. The Zoom I used to record this went a bit funny there. So what happened there? Sorry about the little delay. I wasn't sure if it was still recording me or if it was recording the right screen there. So just wanted to double check that. Right. Okay. So everything seems fine. Cool Hand Puke is next to face the wheel. He gets Gelton Almeida. Gelton Almeida there for Cool Hand Puke. Gelton Almeida should be more loved by the fan base than he is because one of the more active heavyweights, and by that I mean in terms of more well-rounded as well, in terms of posing a submission threat and his knockout power. But either way, he never puts on a boring fight, so let's appreciate that about him at least. You never get a boring fight with this guy, and I reckon he's going to win again. I think he's going to this time by second round submission. And I think this will be quite a grappling heavy fight because Sergey Spivak's certainly not bad on the ground either. I would rate Almeida as a better grappler than him though, and again has the better wins in my opinion. Romanov, Derek Lewis, Rosenstrike, but not Lewis. Curtis Blades. No, yeah, he's got a win over Lewis. I was getting them. Why did I get them muddled up? Right. Well, I mean, I did have a few drinks with my colleagues after, didn't I? But yeah. Anyways, he's beaten Lewis's. Yeah, Curtis Blades. He lost to. Brain glitch there. Not unusual, even when I am sober. Right. Sergey Spivak, on the other hand, he's got some good wins. Marcin Tybura as well, and Lewis as well on the record. But yeah, I think Almeida's just slightly got the better resume there, and I just think he's better on the ground, and even if he does stay standing up, I'd say still Spivak's equal on in a striking exchange. So all in all, that's quite a good pick. So I would expect to see Corhan Puke in the next round. Okay, Kostradamus is up next. Let's see who Kostradamus is drawn with. And he gets Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland. A fan favourite. You can't help but love his fights. He's doesn't always win, and he is very much a middleweight gatekeeper, but a very solid veteran and a very nice guy by all accounts. Obviously, never met him personally, but the way he comes across outside the cage seems like a lovely bloke. But again, against Renier de Ridder, this is your typical fight, really, for Kevin Holland, the gatekeeper up against Rinner, who's the double champion over in one championship, and coming over to the UFC, he got a very hard fought win against Gerald Merceretz in his UFC debut. That was a little that he struggled more in that than I was expecting him to be honest. And yeah, I'm not saying that Holland beats him necessarily. I've got De Ridder to win by decision, but it's close, and I wouldn't be surprised if Holland does produce a small upset here. And in my opinion, it would just be that, a small upset. It wouldn't be a massive shock because I know when I say he's a gatekeeper, I do not mean that's in a negative way at all. It's that also implies that basically you're consistently at that level. You're not constantly being beaten. Only the ones that are elite level are getting past you, which is yeah, again very respectable. You can't take it. You can't knock that, can you? But yeah, it's going to need a bit of luck anyway. Costradamus, I think you're going to be needing a little bit of luck to get through that one, but it's not impossible. Um, Slightly less likely, sure, but it's not impossible. Stranger things have happened in the cage. Okay, right. We have Damien Handel 420 up next. Let's have a look, see who Damien Handel is going to be paired up with. Okay, and this is, I think, if I've been following it right, probably haven't, but this is our first head-to-head, because he gets Mirab Divalishvili. Mirab, how, God Lord, you don't want to be spelling Divalishvili after 6 pints, Jesus Christ. And a couple of Jaeger bombs to boot. Right, Zivi Eilish. Just going to have to bear with me like 5 working days while I type this out. Mirab Divalishvili, there we go, for Damien Handel 420. Right, who had his opponent? Who had Umar Nurmagomedov earlier? That was Canhego Ruiz. So we've got Canhego Ruiz versus Damien Handel 420. So that's our first head-to-head match up here. Now, as I say, I mentioned earlier when Nurmagomedov came up that I fancied Mirab Divalishvili to win this, despite Nurmagomedov being the bookie's favourite. So it's the champion and the one I think should be the favourite against the bookie's favourite, Nurmagomedov. And don't get me wrong, Nurmagomedov looks very scary. No other word for it other than scary, is there? 18-0, and he's completely decimated his opponents, let's be honest. And but Divalishvili, he's just been consistently grinding out wins against top guys in the division. And as a fan, what more can you ask of a champion to get to, like, he's become the champion after beating all the best guys in the division? What more can he do? What more does he have to do? I don't think there is. And I think that experience is going to serve him well. And I think we're going to we see a little bit of a surprise here. I think we're going to see Divalishvili grind out another decision win against Nurmagomedov. So Damien Handel's got the one I consider to be the better side of that draw. Right, Dr. Maxis 2 is next. Face the wheel. Oh, is that all right on the edge there? But the wheel says it is Grant Dawson, which, to be honest, is probably better in my opinion. Uh, Grant Dawson there, who, as I've already mentioned, got him to win by first round knockout against Diego Ferreira. Uh, Again, just Dawson's such a well-rounded UFC staple these days, isn't he? It feels like we're seeing him on almost every card. But always a joy to watch as well. Usually getting wins and got KO wins, got submission wins. Always entertaining. His I think his last loss came against King Green, formerly Bobby Green. But again, no shame in that one. Good fighter. It does mean that I can't really see Grant Dawson troubling the lightweight rankings much, or certainly not the top 10. But yeah, but it's just always going to be a fringe ranking guy. But I mean, to be honest, I say that I have no clue where they are because I never actually checked the UFC rankings because they usually are right loads of bollocks. But in any case, I think Grant Dawson should be just somewhere just outside the top 15 or hovering around there. But by comparison, Diego Ferreira, he's again UFC veteran himself, but I think his time has come and gone in the sport a little bit. 40 years old, and it's just. Having said that, I could be completely wrong because, as I say, he's on a bit of a KO streak. I don't know where he's managed to pull that from. He was lost a whole bunch of fights and then started winning again. So I don't even understand this sport at times. Maybe Grant Dawson will be another victim of that KO streak. Who knows? But I can't see it happening. Uh, but in any case, I think Dr. Maxis 2 should be very happy with that one. Right, El Guapo, our commentator, or for this one up next. Massive thanks again for what you contribute to the game. Hope you get a good one. Not that I pick favourites, but oh, it was lovely having you here, El Guapo. It is. You've had a good run, but first round exit is for you. But having said that, I'm going to go absolutely fucking ballistic if Moicano does actually pull this upset off. But yes, Moicano, not Moicano. There we go. That's spelled right now. Yeah, I hope he does. I'd love to see that. I don't have anything against Islam Makhachev at all. I just love seeing upsets. And yeah, but being realistic, I just can't see how he does it. I'm just trying to think like, what's his most if Moicano is going to pull any kind of win out of this, his best path to victory would be through his submission game, through his grappling, and trying to get a submission win. But I can't see Islam Makhachev being submitted. And to be honest, no offense to Moicano, very solid fighter, but he just isn't at Islam's level. Islam is arguably the best pound for pound fighter in the world right now, and Moicano isn't. Simple as that, really. He's just not at that same level. Again, massive, massive balls for stepping up to doing this and saving the card. So regardless of what happens, even if you get Ben Askren in the first 5 seconds, you deserve all the flowers for just fighting, for just getting in there with Islam Makhachev, getting yourself a title shot on a day's notice that's a win. Don't care what anyone says. Only trouble is, if you do lose, that's not going to count as a win for El Guapo. So you do kind of need to win for El Guapo is going to get through. So I can't see El Guapo getting through, unfortunately, but best of luck to him. Right. Okay. So our second debutant on the card, Philmana MMA. Welcome to the game. I apologize if I butchered your username. Feel free to correct me in the thread if I have butchered that. If you've been watching this video, then as you've already found out, pronunciations are not my speciality. But let's see who's going to be your first ever Lucky Bastard Game fighter. Go on, Will, be kind to him. And he is. He's giving you a little early birthday present or early Christmas present, whatever comes first. Islam Makachev, which also puts him at odds with a previous one, El Guapo. Renato Moicano and Islam Makachev 1v1 there. And yeah, I've got, as I mentioned, Makachev by first round knockout, although I think it's pretty much I think he chooses how he does it. He can win by sub or KO. This is it's going to be a brutal fight. But yeah, from your point of view, that's the best you can hope for. So yeah, well done, and I think you can look forward to a spot in the second round. Okay. Uh, just trying to think, how else do I elaborate that? I can't really say anything else that you guys wouldn't already know. I can repeat what you've already know about him. One of the best in the world. The people he's beaten, Poirier, Volkanovski, Oliveira, but you already know all that anyway, so there's no point me delving into that. But all I will say though is if Alexander Volkanovski couldn't do it, couldn't beat Makachev at short notice, and also again with a full camp, I can't see Moicano doing it on short notice either. But anyway, let's move on to Foghorn Sam. Let's see who the wheels got in store for Foghorn Sam. And Foghorn Sam gets Ricky Turquoise. And Ricky Turquoise, same as Bellatrix. Came up earlier in the game against Bernardo Sapage. And I do favour Turquoise for this one. Simply more UFC experience, even though it has been a slightly shaky start to his tenure in the UFC. But it is still, he can at least prove that he can hang with the people in the lower levels of the UFC bantamweight division. Sapage, after his last support performance, I'm not saying he doesn't belong in the UFC, but he does need to improve if he is going to belong in the UFC. Yeah. So I can't really, yeah, just let's not focus on Sapage. Let's just go back to Turquoise because he was the fighter that actually came up. And a few more fights under his belt, 12 wins, 4 losses. And I'm not sure if this is a mistake or not, but I've got down on my notes here. He's actually the plus 205 underdog here. Bernardo Sapage is the favourite, apparently. Okay, then. I don't understand that. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, sure, Sapage is yeah, like I say, it's besides that UFC debut. Looking at the positives, he's fought in Fight Club Rush, which is over in Sweden. One of the stronger regional promotions in Europe, but still not quite Ares or KSW or Cage Warriors level yet, in my opinion. Okay, I just don't understand that bit of bookmaking, but there we go. Anyway, I think Turquoise should be the favourite to win that. That's certainly who I've gone with anyway. I seem to have picked a lot of underdogs here. Anyway, moving on to there we go. It's your boy SB, our reigning, defending Lucky Bastard Game champion. Let's see. Let's see how likely it is that he's going to defend his title. But if you're going to defend your title, you've got to make it past the first round. Let's see how likely it is that that's going to occur for him. Oh, and this is an interesting one. Orlin Perez. Or it's your boy SB. And again, another one that I think is the bookie's underdog. But I think she's going to do it. I think she's going to get the win. Decision win, that is, of course. And I'm not going to lie, this mostly comes down to the fact that she's just been in the better form recently. I would say I can see that Carol Rosa, her opponent, more experienced for a start, obviously, but Also, just as I say, has got better wins on her record, but it is inconsistent though. It's all wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. She just can't find any consistent form, whereas All in Paris has won her last four. And some not bad names on that record either. He's got Rosaline Edwards, Lucy Pudilova, Ashley Evans Smith. Okay, granted, I tend to rate Ashley Evans Smith maybe a bit higher than I should, but because I can still remember when she was considered a serious contender. But it was, oh, at least I considered her a serious contender anyway. Yes, there was a time I was once aboard the Ashley Evans Smith hype train, along with both of my peers. Um, that was a lonely train journey. But anyway, I think All in Paris has got a very good chance, despite being the bookies underdog. I'm not sure. Is the bookies drunk or am I drunk? Because I'm disagreeing with the bookies all the time here. So I don't know what's going on. I'm usually back the favourites because I'm just a very unimaginative. But All in Paris has been on a better form for me, and given how much of a coin toss women's fights can be at times, that's yeah, in my opinion, that's a good one to get drawn with. Right, okay, Jack Soto next to face the wheel. Let's see who the wheel has in store for Jack Soto. And he gets Yamaha Hill. Yamaha Hill there. So that we haven't had too many double ups or what head to head so far, only a couple. But at the moment, it seems like that this fight's Hiri Prochazka versus Yamaha Hill is going to serve as the unofficial Lucky Bastard Game main event. Obviously, a couple of years earlier, Cheeseball and Common both got Prochazka. And Calforth actually. So 3v1 here. And as I say, I think Hill can win this, but he's going to need to knock out. I can't see any other way he wins. But as I say, I think it's even with a knockout, I think it's more likely Prochazka finds that. Unless Hill has improved a lot since last time we saw him against Alex Pereira. I think he's going to need yeah. Just need that Hail Mary KO punch, which he's found in the past. So certainly not impossible. But I wouldn't be too confident in my picks if I was Jack Soto. Okay, KK Kombu is next. Let's see who KK Kombu gets drawn with. And KK Kombu gets Zach Reese. Zach, I says ACH Reese. Zach Reese there for KK Kombu. Here we go. It's I got him his opponent Azamat Bekoev for a second round knockout. Let's look at the advantages for Reitz here. He's 2-1 in the UFC, and obviously came through the Contender Series, as all the modern prospects do these days. But overall, though, Amzat Bekoev, even though he's making his UFC debut, he's very experienced. He's 18-3, and when you look into those regional promotions, there's some good names there. Well, not names in terms of the fighters necessarily, but I mean in terms of the promotions come through LFA, which again, anyone that watches these videos know I probably rate LFA a little higher than perhaps I should, but yeah, and obviously ACA or ACA or however you pronounce it. Absolute Combat Akmat, I think it stands for, the Russian promotion. But yeah, so I fancy Bakovev's gonna do this one. Probably didn't make sense that phrase, but second round knockout for Bakovev. And yeah, let's see. Let's just KK Kombu has to hope that Zach Reese's UFC experience, which is probably 8-1, the only thing he really has over Bakovev, translates into a win for him, but I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Okay, Knife Rusty is next to face the wheel. Let's see who's the wheel going to match Knife Rusty up with. And we won't have to wait too long to learn his fates because it's the first fight on the card. He gets Tagir uh, Ulambekov, if I pronounce that right. Bekov. Yeah, I've definitely not spelt it right either, but that's a pretty safe one. I've gone with him for a second round knockout. The bookies agree with me for once. It was minus 325 favourite. I will just say, I know I've been reeling off these odds, but I've been reeling them off more as a stat to give you an idea of how much the general consensus is um, of who's going to win the fight. I'm not trying to encourage gambling at all, because the only way not to lose money through gambling is just not to gamble. So I'm not promoting gambling here. I am just using this as a rough guide mark to tell you how much about how what the yeah as a sort of a gauge as to whether they should be the favourites, whether how likely it is they're going to win or how badly they're going to dominate, or how likely you're going to get through anyway in purpose of this game. So if you do bet on this card, I'm not judging you at all. I'm a gambler myself, but or a losing one anyway, as many are. But in any case, if you do, please gamble responsibly. Only bet what you'd be happy to lose. Well, not that you'd be happy to lose anything, but I mean, can afford to lose, wouldn't mind losing. You're not don't put your rent money on any fighters on this card. But anyway, now I just cleared that up. Don't come after me if you do put your rent money and lose on a fighter. Jesus. Anyway, Tagir Ulanbekov. So got some good wins. Cody Durden, for instance. Well, probably the most notable one off the top of my head, if I'm being completely honest. But more of a submission artist, so more dangerous on the ground. And as for his opponent, Clayton Carpenter, again, he could put up a real fight, 8-0, 2-0 in the UFC. Again, came through LFA, which I rate, and obviously the Contender Series. So he might surprise us, but I think Ulanbekov's just a better fighter. In short, I just from what I've seen of him, I just think Ulanbekov's going to win that. So yeah, it's just as simple as that, really. Anyway, Knife Rusty, I think you should be quite happy with that one. Cushy Cake is next to face the wheel. Let's see who Cushy Cake gets drawn with. Oh, there we go. Speak of the devil. And he shall arrive. You get Clayton Carpenter. So, head to head there, Knife Rusty, Cushy Cake, head to head, Ulanbekov versus Carpenter. Yeah, and as I say, as I just said literally a minute ago, I think Ulanbekov is the better fighter. There's no other way of wording that. Definitely the more experienced fighter, 15 wins and 2 losses compared to the 8-0 of Carpenter, but I think Carpenter's gonna. Well, I think the evening will start anyway with Carpenter losing his O. Anyway, Mule Floyd next to face the wheel. Let's see who Mule Floyd is going to be paired with. I guess Bernardo Sapage. Bernardo Sapage there. Well, yeah, that's. I mean, for what it's worth, he is the bookie's favourite. I don't see why. I don't understand why. But then again, I just don't know shit about MMA. I'm not privy to the information what bookies have. But anyway, the advantage obviously going for him. Let's see. Obviously, fought in Fight Club Rush, which, as I mentioned, is particularly for Nordic fighters, but Sapage being Swedish himself, if you're coming through coming up in MMA, you basically have to pass through Fight Club Rush. So he's passed that first sort of baptism of fire, so to speak. And they do have some killers over there. I've seen a few of their events, and yeah, they do have some great prospects coming out there. But it's I just don't think that's quite enough really for Turquoise. I think Turquoise is just a little bit too much of a step up. Um, I mean, the way I look at it is like this. I mean, if it was a fight, Ricky Turquoise versus Vinicius Oliveira, who wins that? I'd say Turquoise. Um, but yeah, it's not that MMA maths always works, but I just Mule Floyd's got the bookies' favourite, and I disagree with the bookies. So, but yeah, truthfully, I just don't understand how Sapage wins this one. But as Turquoise hasn't looked too bad from what I've seen of him so far in the UFC. Anyway, all will be revealed tomorrow night. Anyway, maybe I'll have to just get him a notepad out with that one, or watch that fight with a little notepad. Something, make some notes. More of a academic study than a fight to watch for the enjoyment of it necessarily for me, perhaps. First step to no longer knowing shit about MMA, perhaps. Right. Piggy bank next to face the wheel. And he gets free ticket into the next round because he's bed with Mr. Talbot, Peyton Talbot. Uh, yeah, biggest favourite on the card odds wise. Again, only using it as a rough guide. But when it's like when your odds are minus followed by 4 digits before the decimal, that's that just shows you're a pretty big favourite. Anyway, all finishes so far in the UFC. Like I say, it can go to decisions as well. In his contender series fight, it was taken to a decision. I think yeah, that was the last time he was taking a decision. Uh, but I think only Barcelos can take him the distance. Barcelos is a tough enough veteran. I think he can spring a little bit of an upset here, but overall, there's just no way Talbot doesn't win, in my opinion. So that's a free ticket to the next round for Piggy Bank. Okay, Rigno next to face the wheel. Again, back to Ricky Turquoise. Maybe this will turn into the unofficial uh, Lucky Bastard main event. But Rigno gets paired with Ricky Turquoise, who, again, I think should be the favourites. 12-4, 2-2 in the UFC. Not that isn't as bad as it sounds. It's a little bit of a shaky start, yes, but it's definitely could have been worse. There's a few, but all in all, definitely better than Sapage's start to the promotion anyway. But yeah, that's the main summary of that fight. It's going to be Sapage is the favourite, and I don't quite get why. But maybe I'm just overly confident in Ricky Turquoise. I don't know. Anyway, Shat's next to face the wheel. Let's see who Shat's going to be drawn with. There we go. Back to the other end of the card with Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar Nurmagomedov is obviously the co-main event alongside Mirab Divalishvili. And yeah, again, bookie's favourite, but I'm backing the underdog. Nurmagomedov is. I know I've just criticised him obviously for the for his perceived lack of depth in terms of his record, with Sandhagen being the best win on his record, but given the nature of those performances, there isn't anyone else that's more deserving of a title shot right now at bantamweight, especially seeing that if you were to name somebody that is more deserving of a title shot than the Magomedov in the bantamweight division, Divalishvili's already beaten him. He's beaten O'Malley, he's beaten Cejudo, Yarn, Aldo, Moraes. He's beaten everyone. I can't see what else he can do. But obviously, besides defend the belt a few times, and I think he's yeah, just because it's just being underrated because perhaps some people see this wrestling heavy style with a lack of finishes to be boring. And yeah, and Magomedov's more entertaining fighter. And I get the UFC is more sports entertainment as well as being a sports league. And but yeah, all in all, I think Divalishvili retains his belt. I think both champions do actually. But I don't think we're seeing any belts change hand this pay-per-view. But anyway, maybe the bookies will prove me why I'm wrong, and maybe Shout will make it through to the next round. Anyway, Schwer Industry up next. I promise we are getting towards the tail end of this, so you don't have to listen to me to ramble too much longer. But we probably should try and wrap this up. Actually, it's 3:30 already. Fuck me. Well, thank God I don't need to get up tomorrow. Right. Anyway, oh, I should not have gone for those drinks. Anyway, right. Schwer Industry. Before we waste any more time, next face the wheel. And gets one of the better ones on the card in Grant Dawson. Yeah, I think I don't see how much more I can glaze him really. He's a veteran of the UFC. So is Ferreira, but I mean, Dawson's the younger veteran of the so to speak. I think he's only 30. Ferreira's 40, so that's 10 years difference. Um, and yeah, he's not exactly a green prospect or anything. 22 fights, or 22 wins rather, and uh, under his belt already. So he's got the experience to handle an experienced veteran. So yeah, I don't think this is just a bad matchup for Ferreira, even despite his little inspired KO win streak. But unless he finds another KO fairly early on and one that catches Dawson by surprise, he'll need to get that KO in before Dawson starts to establish any kind of control over the fight. He'll need to take him out early, and I mean early in the first round if it's going to happen. Because once Dawson takes control of this fight, I don't see him letting Ferreira back into it. So, yeah, I think it's basically a pretty safe pick in terms of the game for Schwer Industry. Sigu is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who Sigu gets drawn with. And he gets Zach Reese. Gets Zach Reese there for Sigu. And again, I've gone with his opponent Bakoev simply because sure it's his UFC debut, and I am a little bit reluctant to take people on their debut to win. But yeah, he's not exactly inexperienced either. 18-3, so 21 fights under his belt. That's 21 fights more than I'll ever have. That's for true. But he's I say fought in the LFA and ACA. Whereas Reese, a respectable 2-1 start in the UFC, but it's Bakoev's experience outside of it is gonna, yeah, it's gonna prove dominant because the records are just so vastly different. 8-1 and 18-3. It's yeah, Bakoev there just definitely he's gonna make the experience count, and I think he'll make it count by the way of a second round knockout. Sigu, obviously, going to be hoping I'm wrong in that prediction, and Zach Reese can pull off a bit of an upset. But in any case, it is definitely an underdog pick, that one. Right, CN6 next to face the wheel. Let's see who CN6 gets matched with. Yeah, okay, well, it's nice knowing you, CN6. Diego Ferreira, but no, I shouldn't be too harsh on him because, like I say, he's been a brilliant fighter in the UFC. He's given us a lot of entertaining fights, and it is nice to see him have that little resurgence with the 2 KOs. But the downside is once you start winning again, you start fighting better opponents again. And in this case, you come up against Grant Dawson, who just just knocking on the door of the night lightweight rankings. Yeah, and I think that's a real backhanded compliment from the UFC. But yeah, this is just a bad matchup for him, to be honest. But maybe he can pull off. He's pulled off an upset 2 times in a row now. Maybe he can do it again. Who knows? That's what CN6 will be hoping for. Okay, me next. Let's see who I am going to be drawn with. Please be Peyton Talbot. Okay, well, that's not ideal. Jacques Risser. So, again, I can't sugarcoat it for myself either. I've got Bakoev to win, and I don't see how he doesn't. Even if it is his UFC debut, I think he makes his debut and quite an impression on that. But bearing in mind, because it's his debut, he'll be more motivated to make an impression, you think, wouldn't he? And we're like, right, I'm in the big leagues now. I'm at the no, so I'm in the UFC. I'm gonna show everybody what I can do. And yeah, that'd be my attitude anyway. So I don't think I'm gonna live to see the second round, which, if I'm being completely honest, not unusual for me. Okay, Tyson Magomedov next. Let's see who's going to be the partner with Tyson Magomedov. Again, the mystery favorite Bernardo Serpage. I don't know. I feel like as this video's gone on, I'm cruelly underrating him. But I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking casual, so I don't know. But I just don't see how Ricky Turquoise doesn't win. Or maybe it's just because I like Ricky Turquoise more. Maybe it's just a heavy bias stepping in there. I don't know, but anyway, the bookies are in your favour, Tyson Magomedov, as I've mentioned, and who knows? Maybe that flying knee was just a freak accident or something. Maybe Sapage would have gone on to win that fight. It'd be interesting to see what would happen in a rematch because, yeah, say we like about flying knees, they don't happen too often, and you're not going to be able to pull them off 2 times in a row. Like take Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal if they rematched. How does that go? Certainly not with another flying knee, that's for sure. So I don't know. And again, I suppose he's got the motivation, hasn't he? I was just talking about motivation for making a good impression on your debut, and well, he's going to be wanting to make a good impression or comeback impression. Say, look, that first fight, I'm better than that. So I don't know. The truth is, I'll probably have to look into that fight a little bit more than I have if I'm really going to have to come to any real consensus on it. But anyway, next is the Dirty UFC Man, which I hope is just a comical username rather than a literal description. But he gets Billy Elikana. Billy Elikana there for the Dirty UFC Man. There it is. All right, 7-1, making his UFC debut after stints in the PFL and the LFA. And having said that, I was still going with Bogdan Guskov though, just because, again, much more. I do tend to one of the things I take into consideration a lot. Well, I know everybody takes in their different criteria when it comes to assessing fighters, but for me, one of the things I look for, regardless of necessarily how bad the record might be, is experience. Obviously, you don't want to have too much experience or be too old or too past it, but Guskov's in that sweet spot, 16-3, especially up against 7-1. Guskov's going to have gone through a few stages of his MMA career, which Alenkana is still yet to go through. He's learned lessons. Alenkana is still yet to learn, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think, all truth be told, that could be a better one. That could be a better one for the Dirty UFC Man. Right, the MMA historian is next. Let's see who whether it'll be going forward to the future round or whether it'll be MMA history himself. He gets Renier de Ridder. Renier, first time I typed this one, so you just have to see when you type things in Microsoft Excel, it's if you typed it before in the same column, it comes up with the thing automatically. Because this is the first time I've typed it, you're just going to have to allow me a few working days while I stick it in. There we go, Rene D. Reader. I don't understand why the D part isn't capitalized. I don't know. Anyway, Dutch for you. You should win this. 18-2. Again, obviously Kevin Holland much more experience, but truth is that's the better record, 18-2 compared to 26-12. But Holland, as I said, he's very tough veteran. He's not going to be an easy gatekeeper to get past for De Ridder. But having said that, I do still think De Ridder will do that, as you don't become a double champion over in one without being a seriously good fighter. And I was surprised, as I said, how much he struggled against Mercheret in his debut, but I don't know. He still won that, and he still finished him actually. So show that he can go through 2 rounds of really tough war and still be composed enough by the third round to get that submission win. That shows his experience. That shows his skill under pressure. So I'm thinking De Ridder for another decision win here, but Kevin Holland is going to be a tough test. And if he maybe if he gets off to the kind of start he does against Mercheret, maybe Holland ends up controlling the fight. That's a real possibility. But overall, I think De Ridder's winning this one by decision. And more importantly for the MMA historian, goes through to the second round of this game. Right, we are down to the last 5 now. This has felt like an absolute marathon, I'm going to be honest. My voice is feeling the strain a bit. Anyway, Trail Allman. Let's see who he gets drawn with. Diego Ferreira for Trail Allman. And again, that's just, as I've mentioned numerous times, if he's gonna win, he's gonna need that one. He's gonna need to continue that KO streak he's got going for him. But I just think Grant Dawson is just a very bad matchup for him. Younger, again, certainly not inexperienced. So Ferreira can't exactly use his experience against Dawson as effectively as he would have against a more inexperienced fighter. But yeah, this is just a bad matchup for him. And unfortunately, I think that's quite a bad draw for Trey Allman as well. Okay, Trig, next face the wheel. And again, he also, I think he's going to be joining me and a few others on the first train out of town. We see get Zach Reese, who again, I can't really see much of a way he's going to win that against Bakoev. Because frankly, the only thing I'd say Reese has going for him is UFC experience on paper, but and I suppose obviously biased as well, because when I think of Reese, the main thing I remember that comes to mind first is his KO loss to Cody Brundage. So that's not, so that's obviously going to be heavily biased in my mind. I try and eliminate bias where possible. As you can see, I am completely shit at doing that. But yeah, no, when you first thing that comes to mind is that loss, it's not great. And Bakoev, he's just got all the things in his favor. Really, he's got the motivation, he's got the record, he's got the experience. It's again just I think this is a slight mismatch, if I'm being honest. So I think Trig is this is where we'll be saying goodbye to Trig. Right, okay, Troz up next. Again, just give another quick shout out because he makes these charts, and if you follow the thread, he makes these great charts where it's all the fighters and matches, sort of who's been drawn with who. So again, massive thank you for that contribution, and any other contributions you guys dream up. Feel free to just throw them in the thread. Just do whatever. Just have fun. Go nuts in that thread. All helps to create a wonderful atmosphere. So, shots. Let's see who he gets drawn with. Let's see who his partner's going to be. He gets Clayton Carpenter. So he won't have to wait too long to find out his fate. Obviously, the first fight on the cards against Tagir Ulanbekov. Although, unfortunately, I do favour Ulanbekov for that one, as I think I mentioned a couple of times already. Ulanbekov definitely more a submission artist. So I think that's the way it ends. Second round submission. Having said that, Carpenter though 8-0, 2-0 in the UFC. Maybe he's going to be motivated to continue that, and he's a good prospect in his own right. I just think this is maybe one level a little bit too high up for him. Maybe this is a couple of fights away from him. Yeah, I don't know. But I think he's going to have to show us a level he hasn't previously shown us if he's going to get the win against Stulenbekov. Ubermatch is the penultimate one, down to the last two now. Let's see who Ubermatch gets paired with. And he, along with about 4 or 5 other people now, gets drawn with Hiri Prochaka. And again, when you got two fighters that possess the power in their hands that Jamal Hill and Prochaka do, it can. I can't see it going the distance. Someone's getting knocked out. I think it's more likely Prochaka's going to be the more calculated fighter of the two here, and I think he's going to he's going to do the more intelligent striking. I think he's going to do the again, just more measured, the more calculated, more patient striking. If not, though, I would also say he has the better ground game as well, because it takes Jamal Hill to the ground. Again, I think he could easily win by submission there as well. So he's got options as well, but I think he will try and keep it standing. Muay Thai fighter, naturally, he will want that. And that still represents his easiest way of winning, in my opinion. So, I think it's just that's the better side to draw to get, in my opinion, for that fight. But as I say, Hiri Prochaka and Jamal Hill, they can both knock each other's spark out. So it's that's you never can know. All it takes is one mistake and bang, they're out. So anyway, definitely possibly one of the most competitive fights. Anyway. But I think Prochaka, despite being, I think he's a slight underdog for the bookies. I think he is only a slight underdog, but it's very close in the betting as well. So it's a bit of a coin flip, but I think he got the better side of the coin, the slightly more weighted side of the coin. And finally, we have ex-con Chris. So let's see, what's the last trick the Will's got up his sleeve, and he's deciding to go out by showing some mercy, giving ex-con Chris Grant Dawson, who I've basically, I know with Grant Dawson, it basically sounds like I've had my tongue up his arsehole the whole video, hasn't it? As how much are we going? But again, I'd say just very well-rounded fighter, and again, I think just Ferrier is just a little bit too old, a little bit too over the hill for Grant Dawson, who just is younger, fresher, has a very well-rounded skill set, as I've mentioned numerous times now. Yeah, I think that's a good win. I think we can expect to see ex-con Chris in the second round. Right, okay, I'm just going to catch my breath for a second. Have a little bit more of this drink I got beside me. Right. Okay. And in a second, I'll just quickly run through those names. I won't try and match up who's been drawn with who, but that would take forever. But just going to run through the names and remind ourselves who's been paired up with who. So we have A like myself and AZ with Diego Ferreira, Bellatrix with Ricky Turquoise, Boom Shakalaka with Raoni Barcelos, Kalfoth with Hiri Prochaka, Kanehega Ruiz with Umar Magomedov, Captain Quebec with Peyton Talbot, C. Collins 44 with Billy Elikana, Cheeseball with Hiri Prochaka, as is our debutant Common, who's also riding on the Hiri Prochaka hype train. Coolham Puke with Gelson Almeida, Costradamus with Kevin Holland, Damien Handel for 20 with Marab Divalishvili, Damien Max, Dr. Maxis 2 with Grant Dawson, El Guapo with Renato Marcano, who massive underdog for that. Hope he wins, but that's going to be an upset and a half, wouldn't it? Our other debutants, Film MMA or Film and MMA with Islam Makachev, Foghorn Sam with Ricky Turquoise, our reigning defending Lucky Bastard Game champion, It's Your Boy SB with Orlin Perez, Jack Soto with Jamal Hill, KK Kombi with Zach Reese, Knife Rusty with Tagir Ulanbekov, Cushy Cake with Clayton Carpenter, Mule Floyd with Bernardo Serpage, Piggybank with Peyton Talbot, Rigno with Ricky Turquoise, Shat with Unmar Magomedov, Schwer Industry with Grant Dawson, Sigu with Jacques Reese, Sion 6 with Diego Ferreira, me also with Zach Reese, Tyson Magomedov with Bernardo Serpage, the Dirty UFC Man with Billy Elikana, the MMA Historian with Rene de Rida, Trail Allman with Diego Ferreira, Trig with Zach Reese, Troz with Clayton Carpenter, Uber Match with Hiri Prochaka, and Excon Chris with Grant Dawson. So that concludes the first round draw of the Lucky Bastard game over what's been nearly an hour and a half's worth of torture for you guys. Can only apologize for my feature length travesty that I'm about to upload to YouTube, but it's necessary for the sake of transparency to show I'm not just picking a random fighter with a random username, which would be a hell of a lot easier, actually. But I'd rather do this fairly, otherwise it kind of undermines the whole point of the game. Anyway, so all that leaves me to say is good luck to everyone. Good luck for your picks on Tapology. Good luck if you do have bets on this card. Good luck with those as well. Try to win some money from the bookies, and always nice to see that. But obviously, again, responsibly, of course. And just for the next week, just be lucky in life in general. Just never hurts to be. You can't be too lucky, can you? But until next week, so long for now.